All right, thanks for joining me for another long-range checkup. Are we going to see spring? That's what everybody's wondering. Is we just going to lock into this spring pattern? Meteorologist Brian Ivy here, and I'll tell you what we're going to get after we talk a little bit about what we have been getting for much of February. Very warm air, mid-Atlantic area especially. We've seen some warm air on the west coast as well. The Rocky Mountains into portions of Texas is where it's been cold over the last month, but this is definitely a above average pattern across the whole United States and a decent amount of southern Canada as well. We'll have a couple of cold shots as we go throughout the next few to several days, but a lot of this warm air will be pushing in at times as well. So that's really cold air. This is going to be about as cold as it gets, and it's just one little shot that will be passing through portions of the Northeast into the Great Lakes, and then we'll get some cool air out, and all these greens, that temperature is definitely above average. That's also temperatures widespread, upper 30s, 40s, 50s, and that really just floods across the country with this west-east Pacific air type of a pattern, and that just shuts off a lot of ridging. It just shuts off any of the cold air and pushes it all towards far to the north. There's just no blocking aloft in the atmosphere to kind of push that cold down and win the battle with that mild Pacific that floods our nation. So these are temperature anomalies now, or just temperatures compared to average. Where you see the red colors, it's going to be warmer. The greens and the purples, that's where it's colder. So again, this is a great illustration of my point that it's not this long-lasting torch where we're just stuck in well above average temperatures forever, but it's certainly not a cold pattern for any sustained amount of time. There's some really cold air there. It's going to last for a few days and then fizzle out a little bit. It tries to build east. It'll be chilly, but we're not talking extremely far below average. Warmth builds back west. Big time warmth building up in Canada. This just floods southern Canada with the warmth. And we're talking about widespread 20 to 30 degrees above average. Hudson Bay, Winnipeg, Alberta. We're talking Ontario and Quebec and Newfoundland, everywhere. Air across the middle of the country. This will be very warm air pushing off towards the east. Again, this is where you're talking true spring for a few days or so. We're not going to lock into that forever though, but it's going to be a more mild pattern. It's going to be a pattern that's not going to be super active overall either. But again, some spells of colder air. And when you have that cold out towards the west and the warmth towards the east, sometimes you can get low pressures to spin up and move off towards the northeast as well. And where it's cold enough, obviously produce some snowfall. So this takes us through really the 1st of March there. So you could see that we might be finishing the month on maybe a little colder pattern. This is the MJO, or the Madden-Julian Oscillation. Typically in the wintertime across portions of the east, you want phases like 8, 1, and 2 for it to be on the cold side. We've been stuck in 6 and 7, and that's been a warm spell, and it's just kind of been wrapping around in those two, and we might see a change trying to get closer to 8, but still maybe stuck in 7. So we're just not going to see any kind of a dominant pattern that suggests a lot of cold air. The other big thing has been the Arctic Oscillation. When you have blocking or a high pressure ridge across portions of the Arctic and the North Atlantic, that pushes cold air down across the United States, especially the central and eastern US. We have seen the exact opposite of that. We've seen record levels of the AO, or the Arctic Oscillation, and this is another period, just a huge positive spike. And overall, throughout this whole period, we're going to stay positive. If you're going to see big cold, you like to see it farther negative, way farther negative for sure compared to where we are at right now. Well, let's look at precipitation, because after a little bit of a break, the rest of the spring is looking like we will see a decent amount of moisture returning. So we're going to be drier maybe for the next couple of weeks or so, but widespread Tennessee Valley, Ohio Valley, Great Lake moisture spreading back across the northern portion of the country. So once we get more in towards the warmer patterns and the severe weather season, that could bode well for more active severe weather, probably towards the end of winter. I don't think we're going to talk about a super quick widespread warm-up. The drier air likely stretching across portions of the Southwest. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you following along. If you do like this type of content, please give us a like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Have a great day.